It's another Earth Science video. This is Norris Teaches Science with me, Mr. Norris. We're in Earth Science still. We are continuing astronomy information, and today we're going to talk about what I call astro laws, or the laws of astronomy. So by the end of this video, you should be able to say, I can discuss the laws that govern the study of astronomy. So let's just jump right into it. Before we talk about that, just a little history lesson. There used to be two models of our solar system. One was called the heliocentric model, and one is called the geocentric model. The heliocentric model is actually the correct model. This is a model saying that the sun is the center of the solar system and everything else revolves around it. The geocentric model said that Earth was the center of the solar system and that everything revolved around it. And this is the incorrect model. The geo model is what like Greeks believed, and some of the Romans. It wasn't until more scientific discoveries that we understood the heliocentric model was the right model. Now, some famous astronomy people in history. You can also always look at newer people like Neil deGrasse. You have Nicholas Copernicus. He's the guy who came up with that heliocentric model. You have Galileo Galilei. He invented the telescope, so allowed us to look at other celestial bodies out there. Gal, Galileo did a lot with science, but we're just going to talk about the telescope right now. You have Johannes Kepler. He talked about planetary motion. We're going to talk about some of his work in a moment. And then you have, of course, Sir Isaac Newton. He was all about the gravity. You may recognize him by the apple hitting him on the head. That is a story. It is not how it worked. So let's talk about the laws of astronomy. All right, we're going to talk about Kepler's laws of planetary motion. So Johannes Kepler and his laws. The first law says the orbit of the planets are ellipses with the sun at one focus. An ellipse is kind of like an oval or elongated circle. And so even Earth goes around the sun in this ellipse. And what happens is at some point we are closer to the sun, and at some point we are slower from the sun. But the first law just said an ellipse. Then he had two other laws. Law 2 says a line joining the planets from the sun sweeps out over equal areas in equal times as the planet revolves around the ellipse. All right, think about our calendar. We have 12 months, and almost every month is the same amount. We can separate our orbit into those months, and each month represents the same area that if you do the math. So this area here in the black has the same amount of time as this area here. And the third law says the length of time it takes for a planet to orbit the sun and the distance to the sun are proportional. What that means is if we are closer to the sun, we're going to orbit faster. If you're further from the sun, you're going to orbit slower. Even in our own ellipse, we can do that. But if you think about it, Mercury, which is closer to the sun, goes around the sun faster than Earth. Earth takes 365.25 days to completely orbit or revolve around the sun. The other law is called the law of universal gravitation. This was developed by Sir Isaac Newton, and basically it describes gravity. It says that gravity is based off the masses of the objects and the distance between them. So if you think about our Earth is a really big planet, not big like Jupiter, but big compared to the moon. So there's more gravity on Earth than there is on the moon. The moon is much smaller, so it has less gravity. Less gravity. It still has gravity. There's still gravity on the moon. It just may take a little longer for things to fall. And this really isn't about a law, but I do want to bring it up. Constellations. Constellations are actually cultural records. If you don't know what a constellation is, it's a group of stars that form an imagery, outline, or pattern, and is usually based off cultural traditions. Most of you probably know about the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, but in some cultures they call them the Big Bear and the Little Bear. And then the culture there is actually stories behind those constellations. You can even think of it, all the zodiac signs are in the stars as well, and there's stories behind them. You will also have, of course, Orion. Orion, the three stars on his belt, there's stories behind it. Constellations are all about stories, but we did use constellations to map out the night sky. But this is a little bit about the laws, some laws of astronomy. There's many laws out there. If you want to learn more laws, go check on Google. But I really hope you learned something today. This is Mr. Norris for another Earth Science video, and I am signing out today.